Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this past week was filled with news about the upcoming iPhone 13 or iPhone 12s if Apple decides to call it that, AirPods Pro 2, AirPods 3, Apple TV, and a March Apple event that may be coming up pretty soon that we thought might have been canceled. This is your news update for the week of March 7th, 2021. And the first thing is Apple is facing another lawsuit. This is pretty common for Apple over many years. And this particular lawsuit has to do with refurbished parts when you bring in your phone for Apple Care and need a repair or a replacement. So in August, they're going to trial in a class action lawsuit for using refurbished parts in its warranty replacement or repair products. According to Apple on the Apple Care website, Apple may use parts or products that are new or refurbished and equivalent to new in performance and reliability. This has long been known. Some people aren't very happy about it and are seeking monetary damages. So we may or may not see that going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. The other thing has to do with Spotify. There's a separate lawsuit or case being brought against Apple for apps like Spotify having to pay 30%, for example, when Apple doesn't for Apple Music. So that puts them at a disadvantage, according to Spotify, and the European Union is apparently going to charge Apple in an antitrust dispute, or at least looking into that in the future. So we'll have to see. Basically, Apple takes 30% of the profit, which means Spotify has to raise the price to compensate the difference. So that may be a problem for Spotify making profits in the future, but we'll have to see the outcome of that in the future. Now, if you saw my iOS 14.4.1 What's New video, I talked about this a little bit, but this month is Women's History Month along with International Women's Day. And if you go into the App Store, Apple has updated the Today page with more information about apps created by women or different stories about women developers. So that's pretty interesting, as well as the podcast app and the TV app. So if you use Apple Podcasts, for example, and go to browse, you'll see more information about that Women's History Month. So that part's really nice. You'll see a lot of this probably throughout the month with different things such as the power of sisterhood and more in podcasts and elsewhere. Now, the March Apple event is something I've been talking about for a while, since some people have said we're going to have an Apple event, then people said we're not, and apparently some more people are saying we are going to have an event. So according to iHack2 Pro and then later John Prosser, the 23rd of March seems to be the day of this Apple event. So in the calendar here, on the 23rd, for example, we could see an Apple event or at least new products released. And some of those products, according to John Prosser, could be AirTags, iPad Pro, AirPods, and Apple TV. So we could see all of those things. And I'm most looking forward to a new iMac. iMac Pro is no longer available. It was available while supplies last. So if you go to the Apple website, go to iMac Pro, it says while supplies last, scroll down, and you can't buy it anymore. And it was only the base model. And because that's not available, I would imagine we're going to have a new iMac soon. We have pretty decent iMacs already, but we're waiting for Apple's silicon. And Apple has said it will take 2 years to transition that. We've seen the first ones with the M1 MacBook Pros, MacBook Air, and Mac Mini, but now we're waiting for the rest of the lineup. So I'm looking forward to an iMac. Hopefully we see that very soon, and we should see some pretty powerful processors and hopefully some new graphics processors as well. And so that iMac will have a new design, look more like a Pro Display XDR, and possibly come in colors. So I look forward to that. Now, also another event that we may see online this year again, it seems pretty reasonable, that's what we're going to see, is in June. We should see WWDC. This is expected to be virtual again, like it was last year in 2020, and usually it's held in the second or third week of June. This usually brings about things like iOS 15 or whatever the next version is, along with the next version of macOS, watchOS 8, for example. We should see all of these things and then have the betas released in beta 1 format for developers soon thereafter. So we should see all of those things in June. That's what I'm looking most forward to with iOS anyway. We should see some new features, maybe some design changes as well. So those things are really something I look forward to every year. WWDC is probably my favorite event outside of the iPhone event. Now, speaking of iPhone, there's still many saying that iPhone 12 will soon get a battery pack that works with MagSafe. MagSafe makes a lot of sense for charging. You've got magnetic accessories that attach to it, but we haven't seen a battery pack just yet. So we're waiting for that to show up. We should see one of those hopefully fairly soon, maybe at a March event, maybe before that. But a battery pack makes a lot of sense for an iPhone with a magnet on the back, since Apple released them for the iPhone 11 series and before that. So look for that pretty soon. Now with iPhone 13, we know quite a bit about it so far since Apple's sort of finalizing what they're doing when it comes to the overall design and has to get all of that ready months in advance so they have enough made by September when they usually release it. So at this point, we can expect a 120 hertz display, a smaller notch, whether that be vertical or horizontal, we're not sure yet. A bigger battery is in the latest rumors, so that's great. We would love to see a huge battery in it. And the newest information is better cameras, but this time with wide angle being sensor shift stabilized. So we have that in the iPhone 12 Pro Max where the sensor itself is sort of moving around and it stabilizes instead of the lenses. We should see that in the wide angle in the future as well. So that's something I look forward to. It will make those photos even crispier. Also, we should see better 5G modems as Qualcomm updates their chipsets, Wi-Fi 6E, and many are saying a lightning connector as well, so we could keep this for a while, and then a faster processor. However, patently Apple discovered a new patent showing that Apple has patented a new MagSafe style connector for the iPhone. So it would plug into the bottom instead of the lightning port, and it would sort of be a portless iPhone with a magnetic connector, maybe pogo pins, for example. So this makes a lot of sense if Apple's going to be bringing MagSafe back to the Macs, which is rumored at this point. So that makes a lot of sense, and I look forward to that. Now, as far as iOS 14.5 Beta 4, I would expect that as soon as Tuesday on the 9th or Wednesday the 10th. Generally, we'll see those released around that time on a weekly schedule, and I would expect it then, with a final release of iOS 14.5 sometime after that March event if it occurs on the 23rd. So if we have it on the 23rd, generally they'll release that same day or the following day with an update with new products and other things as well, such as watchOS 7.4 and all the updates for iPad and Mac. So I look forward to those. I think we're a couple weeks away from the final release of 14.5. That seems to make sense, where we would have 14.5 Beta 4 on the 9th, the final or release candidate on the 16th, and a public release on the 23rd. That seems to make a lot of sense. So I look forward to that. Hopefully we'll see that soon. Now, when it comes to iPad Pro, we're already expecting a new 12.9-inch iPad Pro that is expected to have maybe a mini LED display in it. It might be a little bit thicker, have a similar design to this, but it's said that in the future we could see OLED displays as soon as next year. So if Apple can't get the results they want with mini LED or micro LED, which is after that, maybe they'll switch to OLED with a Super Retina XDR on the iPad, which should be really nice, super bright, and hopefully we'll see something maybe with micro LED first instead of OLED, but Digitimes is saying we could see that in a 10.9-inch iPad first and then a 12.9 a little bit later, as well as maybe new 16 or 17-inch MacBook Pros later this year or next year, for example, where they're considering that. Now, also, according to a Korean blog called Naver, if I'm saying that properly, they've said that Apple is working on an 8.7-inch iPad Mini Pro. Now, I'm not sure you need a Mini Pro, for example, but if they're going to make Pros of everything else, I suppose we could see something like that. Now, Mr. White has shown us some products in the past that have actually released, and now there's a new picture of a glossy Apple Pencil that looks like this second-gen Apple Pencil. That could be a third-gen with a different tip, where the current tip or pencil tip unscrews, and you can change them out. The new one looks like it might just snap into place. It's hard to say if they may change it with maybe some new functionality, but the second gen is pretty nice. I'm not sure what they could add, but we'll have to wait and see. So we could see one of those fairly soon, maybe with the next iPad Pro. Now, when it comes to AirPods, I've talked about this before. Expect AirPods Pro 2, maybe a slight redesign, as well as AirPods 3 with that Apple event as well. I really expect these soon since they've been talked about for a long time and are seemingly ready to go, according to John Prosser. So we could see those very soon. Now, finally, there's some additional news about the augmented reality headsets or virtual reality headset, Apple Glass, one of those. And Ming Chi Kuo has said that the long talked about Apple VR headset are said to launch sometime in mid-2022, and then the glasses would come a little bit later in 2025. So we could see that. And then also, this is a very strange rumor, but he's also saying that Apple may release augmented reality contact lenses in the 2030s. I think that's a bit of a stretch, and while that may be something we see in 10 or 12 years or something along those lines, predicting that far out is really hard to say if we're going to see them in that sort of time frame. But either way, it's what he said, and he's been fairly accurate in the past, but that sort of stays with the Apple car many, many years out. So pretty interesting rumor, but at this point, I'm looking forward to an Apple VR headset first, that new iMac, and then WWDC with the iOS 15 showing and then final release in September. Let me know what you're most excited about in the comments below. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.